Good morning and welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today in our session Beyond Participation, Cultivating Meaningful Student Engagement. This session is a workshop session and we are lucky enough to have a school here to come and contribute to the session, so they are, it's always good to hear our insights from the real world, so more about that shortly. But for those of you that don't know me, my name is Crystal Googe and I am a school engagement manager at Schoolbox. There are some lovely familiar faces in the room, so I look after Queensland, the Northern Territory and Western Australia. I have my colleague here, Anthony Mitchell, who is our senior education consultant at Schoolbox, and some of you might be familiar with Ant in his in assisting you in your implementations, or if you've had consulting, especially in the New South Wales region. So we are very excited to spend the next 50 minutes with you exploring some hands-on engagement tools in Schoolbox. Our objectives today, we're going to dive into the fundamentals of why of engagement. We want to explore the critical role of feedback, and we want to get hands-on with Schoolbox features such as learning moments and some features within the CK editor and interactive worksheets. Our goal is for you to walk away with practical strategies and a deeper understanding of how Schoolbox can empower your students to take greater ownership of their learning. And I just kind of want to add to that, not only your students, but your families at home as well, especially in light of the keynote this morning. I think that today's session here kind of really nicely links that communication piece between teacher, student and parent as well. So let's start with the why of meaningful engagement. When we talk about meaningful engagement, we're not just talking about the students being physically present or completing a task. It's about their active, intellectual, emotional and behavioural investment in their learning journey. They're asking themselves, why should I even be in this platform? What's in it for me? What cool things are there? And I suppose that applies at all different year levels. We've got, our little people in the junior school all the way up to our senior students. And this type of engagement is crucial because it directly drives deeper learning outcomes. Students aren't just memorising, they're understanding, they're applying, and they're creating. It also cultivates essential 21st century skills like critical thinking, problem solving, and collaboration. Ultimately, truly engaged students develop greater agency over their own learning and they become intrinsically motivated. I highlighted those two words quite big and in bold because I think it's really important to try and encourage that intrinsic motivation encourage our students to do the things that get them engaged. And curious individuals become prepared for the challenges that are far beyond the classroom. Central to cultivating meaningful engagement is the feedback cycle. We need to shift our thinking from feedback being simply a grade or a critique to feedback being a powerful driver of learning. It's about providing information that informs, guides and empowers us or empowers students to understand where they are now and where to go to next. Research is constantly backing this up. John Hattie's extensive visible learning meta-analysis, which has compiled data from millions of students, unequivocally points to feedback as one of the highest impact factors on student achievement. His quote, "The most powerful single modification that enhances achievement is feedback," really encapsulates its significance. It's not just about telling them what's wrong, but providing them the roadmap for their improvement. An effective effective feedback is a dialogue, it's not a monologue. It's about helping students reflect on their work and plan their next steps. So what makes feedback truly effective? It needs to be timely, delivered while the learning is still fresh. It needs to be specific, targeting particular aspects of their work rather than just vague generalisations. And crucially, it needs to be actionable, giving students concrete steps that they can take to improve. It should always be constructive, focusing on growth and learning rather than just pointing out mistakes. And ideally, it's a feed forward, helping students plan for their future tasks and deepen their understanding about where to next. And this is where Schoolbox becomes an incredible, powerful tool. Its features are designed to facilitate these types of effective feedback loops, from annotations on submissions to clear rubrics, direct communication tools, and some new features that we're going to sort of allude to in a moment. These features create the ecosystem for meaningful feedback, which in turn cultivates our deeper student engagement. Some of the tools that we're going to dive into a bit first are learning moments, goals and badges, our AI tools, and our interactive worksheets. But before we do, I would love to invite Sarah up onto the stage to hear directly from a school about how they've applied some of these principles. Sarah Winter is it grade 5? 3, sorry. I didn't write that down. The grade 3 teacher at Cardinia International College, and she is going to explore some of the engagement tools that they've been using with Schoolbox. Thank you, Sarah.
Hi, as you can tell, I've nearly lost my voice, so I'm just going to do my best nice and quickly. I have a Year 3 class this year, and last year we started using Schoolbox as a staff, whereas this year it's been rolled out to all students from K to 12. And so far this year it's been exploring and experimenting and teaching the kids how to do various uploads. And given my young learners and the time that they've had, I think they're doing pretty impressive things. Because I also use examples from my class, no photos on those pages, please, because my students are in them. It's very realistic, as you'll see. So I'm going to discuss 3 things: within the classroom, beyond the classroom, and our next steps. So within the classroom, a learning moment is a personalised artefact of a child's growth. Sometimes I ask them to create a learning moment and particularly choose what learning I would like them to share. Sometimes I ask them to also reflect on certain questions or prompts that I give them. Sometimes it's their choice and they'll choose something. They might choose how they upload it. So there's lots of choice. Sometimes it's from me, sometimes it's from them. Or sometimes I'll ask them to upload a particular piece of learning, but the way they do it is their choice, which again helps the experimentation and building their skills. Because as you know, they're very quick to learn things faster than us, and because they're not afraid, whereas sometimes adults are afraid that we're going to break it. But kids just get in there and they click, and they have learned how to do some really beautiful things that I didn't teach them. They've just found that there are features, like you can see that one has a lovely banner and just beautiful colours and bits at the bottom. They have found those, and then they'll quickly teach each other. Sometimes teachers upload a learning moment for students. So our art teacher, a couple of times a term, will upload a beautiful piece to show the parents what's happening in art, and you can see she's very good with collages, and that one in particular, when you see the looks on the kids' faces, is priceless. So she has doing a really great job, and so we try to make sure learning moments are balanced from me, but also all the other teachers and learning and subjects that the kids do. There's an example of a student learning moment photo, but then I would have given them particular prompts and questions to answer. So they helped to explain what the task was, why we did it, how we did it. That was a summative assessment from a unit of inquiry, Sharing the Planet. And so I also asked students to give their definition of what diversity is, which again is some assessment for myself. And we don't very often, so when I say that emojis are allowed, they get very excited. And so that piece, we went through all the emojis and we found all the emojis that connect to diversity and our unit, and it was amazing to see how broad the emojis were. So you can see that student has particularly put all the different diversity-related emojis in there. You can see the one on the left with the shape drawing. That was just end of the week. I asked students to pick any learning from their week that they'd like to upload. And I thought that's a good example because sometimes the ones I choose might be the big pieces, the special pieces. And that just shows that that girl was so proud from just one page in her maths book that she was learning how to do something that we might consider as just sort of, not the most exciting task, learning how to draw 3D shapes, but she was so proud. And then the one on the right, you can see for Bullying No Way Week a couple of weeks ago, we did a bit of craft connected. And so, again, they're uploading what that means to them and why Bullying No Way Week is so important. And again, you can see that students are getting very fancy with how they upload and decorate and colour code, things like that, which is fabulous. And it shows they really take pride in what they do. And they're also getting really fast. Obviously, the decoration takes longer. Sometimes I have to put a time limit because we could decorate all day, but they're getting really fast. So uploading to Schoolbox is not like a whole period anymore. It's just we'll do some learning and then I'll allow the last so many minutes to do the upload. Sometimes we also have videos. So this is a very cute one that students had to draw and measure animals. They were given animal measurement facts.
The crocodile that I made, it's 7 meters long. The mouth all the way down to its tail.
So the more we do, the better we get with our videoing skills. And so that was showing their measurement, and she's reflected that using the trundle wheel and what was tricky about it. We also, students will now know which subject to tag their pieces to. They're pretty good with those, with the different subjects, as you can see. And that piece was actually, that whole learning task I left for a CRT to do. And left for the CRT that the kids could do an upload. So that was maybe a month ago. So I was pretty impressed that some students did the photo, some did the video, but they could do that without me, with a CRT who knows nothing about Schoolbox and has no Schoolbox access. When I was at a meeting outside of the classroom, that my kids could just do it. And so that's pretty amazing, just shows consistent practice and exploring helps them learn their skills. This is we wrote persuasive texts and then...
And Dad, today we were allowed to write a persuasive text of any choice. So I wrote one that meant Angel is a better character than Stitch. So I'll read it to you now. Dear my best friend Scarlett, do you think that Stitch is the best character? Well, you're wrong. Because Angel is the best, and I will prove to you that Angel is the best. I know why, and you agree with me at the end of this letter. First of all, we all know that Angel is the definition of cute. Angel is the cutest thing ever created. Why does Stitch like Angel? Because he's cute, obviously. Why does...
So we'd written persuasive text. They could write it to anyone about any topic. This girl and her best friend were arguing which character from Stitch is better than the other. And so by filming this read aloud, it's great for parents to not only see the writing, but hear them. And then I can use that for assessing their speaking skills. I did say to the students, I wonder who will be adding extra expression to their voice to add to the persuasiveness. And you can see that student has done an excellent job And so the benefit of Schoolbox is I don't need to listen and try to cram in all the assessment in real time. I can look and listen to that any time that suits me and assess their speaking skills. Sometimes I give feedback. These were assessment pieces, so I did make sure I did add some feedback of what they did well and maybe what part of the shape knowledge that they hadn't got quite yet. I had given them prompts that I wanted them to name the shapes, describe the shapes, explain where they're used in real life, why they put certain shapes in certain positions in their model. And so that one did take longer because that was probably within the first month of the school. So you can see already after a month or two of using Schoolbox, they're getting pretty good. That one took a little longer because there was more typing. Some of my students type, but some of mine can do the voice to text in the comments section as well. Sometimes I do a class news post that is connected to their learning moments to just add a bit more information so that when parents see a learning moment that might be really important, they can see my class news connected. So when we do a digital citizenship lesson, because I think that's really important that parents really understand why we're doing those lessons and the key ideas and further discussion points they may like to do at home. So you can see my class news on the left explaining that we're learning what a strong password is and some photos of students doing the particular activity. And then on the right here, students could choose any way to upload what their definition of a strong password is and tell their parents why that's important. And so you can see some different options that students chose to do. And so when we're trying to cater for different learners and different learning styles, Schoolbox can do that because they can choose what suits them. Beyond the classroom. And so class news is I'm trying to capture something that impacts or is connected to the whole class for all parents. You can see last week we used VR headsets to explore some ancient artefacts connected to our history unit of inquiry. And so I could show parents what the VR pictures looked like and then see some students in action and then explain even the funny points. Like you said, sometimes it's got to be lighthearted and fun. And so in those artefacts, we were debating which was the oldest, and some students thought that the cornflakes from 1983 were the oldest, even though there's like ancient Egyptian things there. And so I, in my very serious post about the history in the VR that we'd used, I put in the funny because I knew that would give a giggle. So when we're talking about building relationships and engagement, sometimes we can be really serious. So putting in a little funny that came up in conversation that I thought parents would enjoy, I thought would be great. There's some other examples. Sometimes it's very easy to share photos. The one on the left, we were building models of the natural phenomena that we had researched to open a science museum. And so whilst I'm showing the building in action, I'm also reminding the parents that the Space Museum will be open on this day and time and remind them, please come. And so instead of just saying, hey, this is on, please come, obviously showing the photos of all the creation in action hopefully gets the buy-in. And we got a lot of parents that day. I think every kid had multiple adults from their family there, which is fabulous. Sometimes it's just very simple. We created our acknowledgement of country and did some beautiful leaves and hand artwork. And so parents are busy and they don't really get to come in the classroom. And so sometimes it's just a photo of a particular display that we're proud of just to show off that we're happy with. Sometimes for class news, it's just a photo. I had a few new students start this term, and so during the first week, I just took a whole class photo to welcome the new students. Book week, dress-up day the other week, news folks will just enjoy our characters, and there we are. So sometimes it's serious learning, but also I try to put in just the fun photos of Happy Friday, here's us doing something funny or silly as well. Next steps for us. Badges might be something that we start to investigate next year. Schoolbox has a bunch already, but you can actually program and make them and design them to whatever you want. So we were thinking that we might make one for every every digital citizenship lesson, and so students collect them through the year. We could make them for our motto, which is wisdom, respect, friendship. So we could have a wisdom, a respect, a friendship badge that students can collect. Maybe we could make it for the PYP profile attributes and the ATL skills. So when they show their communication skills, they get their communications badge. I think that would be really fun, especially for primary age kids, to collect and show their parents what skills they are showing at school. And as you can see, my colleague Aisha, sitting right there, she has designed those icons and called them that. And she did it really, really fast. So that's really exciting that we can make the badges whatever we want. But then if you click on the badge, it actually has the information behind it. So again, you could type in whatever you want parents to know about that badge. The most important things, which a lot of you have said, or the different presenters have said, that you have to have a consistent approach. So far this year, we've all just been exploring and experimenting, whereas now we have sort of a written policy of the minimum expectations of how many class news and how many learning moments per kid per week to try and make it consistent. A lot of teacher training and experimentation from us, and time to just play and learn, even for us. The more I do it, the more I learn, and my kids teach me also. Thank you.
I would just like to say a massive thank you to Sarah, because you powered through while losing your voice. That may be one of the best examples I think I've seen of the use of learning moments and news within a primary context in my time at Schoolbox. So if we could all just put our hands together one more time for Sarah, and thank you for that. That's incredible. Thank you. I was going to do a whole spiel here on learning moments, but actually I think I'll just skip that, because I think you've seen the power and the impact that learning moments can have within a classroom environment. I think I will also be stealing the term personal artefact for my consulting from now on. So there's lots of that to dig into. But what we're really going to do now is we're going to have some playtime ourselves. So just like those students in Sarah's class, we're going to do some experimenting and some play. And we're going to be looking at how we can do some of these processes. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit of a demonstration. Now, as part of 25.1, we have made some improvements to learning moments. So as of the end of September, you will be getting access to a few new features as part of learning moments. I'm going to demonstrate those, but before I do, I'll just give you a quick summary. So as part of the learning moment workflow, you'll now be able to attach multiple types of submission to a learning moment into a single learning moment. So before we saw examples of photos and videos and the text description underneath. Now you'll be able to upload multiple photo submissions, mix and match between photo and video, word, voice recording to create sort of a more complex, more fully featured learning moment. The other thing that we're giving you access to is a moderation workflow. So now you will be able to choose per school, so you don't have to use this. It will be a setting that you can activate or deactivate, but the ability to make students submit their learning moments before they go home to parents, so that you can engage those students, not just in conversations about, what's appropriate to post or not appropriate to post, because as you can see, students have a really great intrinsic ability to know what a learning moment should look like when they're given that explicit instruction. But to just further those rich conversations, before a learning moment gets published, maybe you want to have a talk with a student about increasing the amount of text that they provide in that description. Maybe you want to give them some, instruction about how to frame a photo so that it gives the best representation of their work so they can try again. And so we're going to look at that now. So I'm going to log in as a student. Going to switch to a handheld mic. So I'm going to log in here as a student. You'll be familiar with the student toolkit that can be put onto student dashboards. There is a new component coming for home pages, which we're not going to confuse everyone with right now, but that will be available on your classroom pages as well very soon. And so I'm going to click the Share Learning button. I'm going to be asked to choose the first type of submission that I want to make, so I'm going to take a photo. I'm going to allow the camera. and I'm going to take that photo. And you can see now that that photo is a part of my learning moment. But not only that, I'm going to quickly record some audio. Hello world, this is Anthony. Thank you for letting me record my learning moment. And that's also going to attach itself to the learning moment. So I can switch between all of those submissions, and you can see that I'm building this more fully featured learning moment. Inside your instance, you will be able to also create tags for your learning moments that will be filterable to on the word is, pardon me, Jez? The activity feed, took the words right out of my mouth. So you will be able to filter to those. You'll also now be able to tag which class or group that this learning moment is for. So you'll actually be able to see those folder images from around your system, and students will be able to decide which class this was intended for or which group it was intended for. So right now, let me have a look. I'm part of, that's not the one I should be in. I'm going to go with this one. And I'm going to tag that. And I'm going to submit it for approval. So I'm going to click Submit for Approval. And that's now going to be accessible by the teacher via their class page. So I'm going to switch to a teacher view now. And I'm going to go to my group page in this case, but it would be my class page normally. And in the three-dot menu, I will find a new button called Cohort Learning Moments. So Cohort Learning Moments is going to surface all the different learning moments that have been made by the students in my class. So by default, it will not filter itself to just show learning moments that they tag to my class. If the student is in my class, I'll be able to see all of their learning moments from this screen. So not only will I be able to view the learning moments about my subject, but if I'm a form teacher, for example, I can access that cohort learning moments and look at, learning moments for my form class from across the school. I can see here, my learning moment from student 400 requires approval. I can tick that box there. I can either request an update, so I can send the learning moment back to the student to make modifications to before they resubmit it for approval. I can delete it if it is inappropriate, and I can also publish that learning moment. And now that it's published, that'll end up in their activity feed for parents, students, and themselves to view. So that's something that we're going to play around with now, and you're going to have a chance to post your own learning moment and to have a practice at approving it. So if I go back to this, okay, I don't have the speaker notes right now, but that's fine. So if you have a QR code enabled device, please feel free to scan the QR code to get to the website. But you can see the URL at the top there, meetup25.stg.schoolbox.cloud. And we're going to first log in as a student. Don't worry, you'll be able to switch to a teacher very easily. Now, I believe on your name badge, you have a unique number. So if you look at your name badge, you'll find that number. And please, when you log in, you are logging in as student and replacing the letter X with your number. And the password is the same format, password with your student number. Okay, our first part of this activity, we're going to go through the process of posting a learning moment as a student. So from your dashboard, you would have seen before that I clicked Share Learning from my student toolkit. And so I want you to make sure that as you post your learning moment, make a couple of different types of submissions to that learning moment and make sure that you try to tag our group. You'll only be in one group, hopefully. Feel free to tag multiple if you want to. And then make sure you're submitting that for approval. And then once we've done that, we're going to look at that workflow for approving it as a teacher, okay? So share learning, create a learning moment, tag it to the group under classes and groups, and then submit for approval.
If you have extra time whilst making it, feel free to change the size of your screen or your phone to see what it looks like. I can't help myself, man.
Oh, I know, Jez.
All right. Once a teacher.
I'm going to give everyone another minute for that. If Year 3s can do this in a timely manner, so can we.
Sarah, how are we rating against your grade 3 so far?
They probably logged in faster than we did. Yeah.
Oh, I'm seeing lots of cool learning moments.
All right. Now that you've submitted your learning moment, let's move on to becoming the teacher. So each of your student accounts is linked to a corresponding teacher account. So up in the top of Schoolbox, if you're on a laptop, you'll probably be able to see this in the top right. There will be a profile icon. You'll be able to click on that and switch to the corresponding teacher user. If you are on a mobile device or on a small screen, it will actually be hidden under your hamburger menu on the left-hand side. You need to click on that to open your side menu, and that will have your profile picture there where you can make that switch. If anyone's having trouble with that, reach out to a floater around the room. Otherwise, we're going to move on to, I understand. I understand why people are laughing now. And we're going to move on to that teacher workflow. So, on the dashboard of your teacher account, there will be some different group pages. You need to navigate to the Beyond Participation Workshop group page that corresponds to your number. So those groups have numbers on them. We could only put so many users on a particular page. So in terms of another feature we're going to show, you can have large groups, that's fine. But you're going to go to those pages, select the appropriate one, go to that three-dot menu, click on Cohort Learning Moments. You're going to have to scroll a little bit potentially to go and find your learning moment. I'm sure you took a photo of yourself or someone around you potentially. So we're looking for that photo of ourselves. We're ticking on that particular learning moment, and we're going to approve that learning moment by publishing it. We're going to give you 2 minutes to do that. Yeah.
But will not be available on production just yet.
Is this on? It is on.
It may even be tweaked or slightly changed in the next few weeks as we work through what the final product looks like. So you're getting an early insight to action this today. Anyone have any questions from being able to improve their learning moment?
I think we're good. Okay, we're going to move on. So we're going to move on to a different feature now. So when talking about student engagement, we released a feature not too long ago called interactive worksheets. So interactive worksheets are powered by one of our partners in technology, Cami. It is the ability to create multiple versions of the same document for the class in order for them to be able to use the Cami inline grading tool on that document and create a live submission. So not only does the student get access to that tool to complete the work, but you as a classroom teacher have the ability to go to your class page, click on the three-dot menu next to that learning activity, to that due work, and access a class view. So the class view will bring up all of the different submissions in real time as they are being completed for you to also use Cami to leave inline feedback as students are completing their work. Now, obviously, I think it's very apparent what the use cases would be in a junior context. You know, using those interactive worksheets gives you the ability to monitor progress and to provide that, that quality feedback that Crystal was talking about. But also in a senior context, as a drama teacher, every time my students created a performance or performed in front of me, they'd have to submit a workbook about their rehearsal process and about the decisions they had made. And so I might use an interactive worksheet to create that workbook for them so that I can monitor that throughout their rehearsal period over the course of several weeks. So we're going to switch back to our student now. So following that same workflow that we used before, clicking on our profile icon and switching to the student view, we're going to go and we are going to access the interactive worksheet. So as a student, you're going to navigate back to that appropriate group page via one of those icons on the dashboard. You can also click on the groups button in your top menu and navigate that way as well. You're going to select the interactive worksheet experience and you are going to create a submission. So I'm going to demonstrate that now. So as a student, I'm going to go to my Beyond Participation group page. I'm going to click on the interactive worksheet experience button here, and I'm going to create a submission. Now, Kemi was down for a moment before, but it looks like it is back up and running, which is great. Wonderful. Now, you have a couple of tasks here to complete. You're going to use one of these tools on your left to match the following feature name to an image of that feature. And if you come down here, there's also a little Schoolbox poem in which you are going to find examples of these literary techniques within the poem. So you can use a highlighting tool for that. So we're going to give you a couple of moments now to complete that. And while you are completing it, I'm going to try and turn on a class view of some submissions. And let's have a look from a teacher's perspective as you're completing that work. Hopefully there are students completing the work in here. If you are student 319, I'm now watching you live, so just make sure you're getting these things right. Zoom out a little bit so we can see a few more submissions. Oh, student 325, let's have a look. Oh, we've linked the dashboard. I'm going to leave a little bit of feedback here. Let me just quickly get my comment tool out. Let's try a video comment. Student 325, unfortunately, you haven't matched the dashboard to the correct image. Try again, please. You're doing really well, though. Oh, student 302, well done. I wouldn't bring this up in front of my whole class, otherwise they'll just start copying off each other. But you can see that the interactive worksheet allows me to engage with students as they're working through their classwork. I can highlight, I can leave text comments, voice comments, video comments. So I don't have to wait for a submission to start providing that feedback, to start that loop. I can start it as students are working through it. Feel free to continue with your submission, but we are going to move on to a new feature now. So, as Sarah said, their next part of their journey is looking at the use of goals and badges. Now, I don't know about everyone else in the room, but every time I've ever been given a badge or a sticker, that's a nice little dopamine hit. And I think that, not only in the junior school context, but also in the senior school context, badges, acting as both goals and achievements, can give students a real sense of pride, not only in their academic pursuits, but in their co-curricular or extracurricular pursuits, in their approaches to learning, in their showing of school values. There are many, many ways in which we can use these, what we call micro-credentials, to instill in students the sense of achievement, but not only achievement, the striving towards those achievements. And so we're going to look at now the ability to assign badges as goals to students, to give them a goal to work towards, or students setting themselves a goal in this case. And we're also going to look at the ability for staff to view that goal, to add evidence to it, and award that badge goal as an achievement. Another part of our latest release, and something that you may want to experiment with as you go through this goal process, is the new image generator that will be part of 25.1. So if you've got AI services connected, this will be something that you're familiar with within your school, potentially outside of Schoolbox. But within Schoolbox, there'll now be some more configuration fields for you to provide an endpoint to a GPT in order to start using image generation. And so wherever images can be attached within Schoolbox, those image generator tools will be available to you if connected. Now, just like all other AI services in Schoolbox, students won't be able to access this, so this is a staff tool. So you can find that when you go to create an image or add an image, and you go to the browse functionality, the image generation will appear at the bottom of that tool. It's also important to know that the CK editor has AI as well. So not only image generation, but text generation for you to provide context to a generation prompt in order to generate content, and a refining tool in order to use AI to refine language or change it potentially for a particular audience, to translate it potentially, or anything else that you can think of in terms of adding value to the content that you've already provided it. Okay. So we should still be logged in as a student because we didn't do anything as the teacher for our interactive worksheet. So you're going to navigate back to your dashboard. You can do that by clicking on the whale icon in your top menu, and we are going to set ourselves a goal. So as a student, I'm going to click on the Set My Goals button on my student toolkit. I believe we have a Meetup badge. I'm just going to see if I can find it. We do. There is a Meetup 25 Superstar. Okay, you can set any goal for yourself that you like, but if you want to be a Meetup Superstar, this is your opportunity. So you're going to click on the tick box next to that badge, and you are going to click Set Selected Goal. You could also click on the name of the badge itself, on the image of the badge, so you can read the description before you set yourself a goal. Okay, so you know what you're actually getting yourself into, and after that, you can then set that selected goal. Click Set Goal again, and now I can scroll down in my activity feed, and I can see that I have a goal of becoming a Meetup 25 Superstar. So I'm going to give you a minute for that now, and after that we're going to look at the process of awarding that achievement with some evidence once a teacher is involved. I'm going to keep moving, guys, just because of the time. So we're going to have now hopefully set that goal for ourselves, and we're going to switch back to our teacher login. Same process. Click on your profile icon, choose that teacher user instead. And from here, we are going to visit our group page again. So if you're a student 400, like I was, I'm going to go to the 301 to 400 group page. I'm going to click on the three-dot menu next to on my group page. I need to become a teacher first. I didn't follow my first instruction. Okay, and I'm going to click on the badge report button in my 3-dot menu. That is going to surface a list of all the different goals and achievements for a student. I can obviously filter those if I needed to, but I'm going to scroll to my student, find myself. I'm going to click on my goal, and I can tell it's a goal by the fact that the image is in grayscale. Okay, so in this badge report, anything that is in black and white or grayscale is a goal, and everything that is in color or shows the full color of that badge is something that has already been awarded as an achievement. So I'm going to click on that. I can either add evidence, so if this is not a goal that a student has yet to actually achieve, I could just be adding evidence to the log. I can also award it with evidence, so I'm actually going to award the badge, but I'm going to add evidence before I do that. Or if, we've had a conversation in class, I don't need to add any evidence, I could just straight award it, but I am going to award this with evidence. This is going to give me access to the CK editor here, so I could upload files, I could attach things, I can type text, I can even access a template. Ooh. Which is also a little sneak peek at one of our new features in 25.1. So if I click on the little template button here, I'm actually able to access a badge evidence template, which is going to populate what the evidence awarding looks like, and I can make the adjustments as needed to that. So I could come here and I could change my badge name
We're
to...
taking away all of James's glory for this afternoon.
Yeah. And I could change the description. Okay, so all of this is things that I could go in and change, make adjustments to. I could even highlight it all and use my AI tools to make the appropriate adjustments for me. And then I can click the award button. And so if that student now goes to look at their activity feed, they will see that they have been awarded the Meetup 25 Superstar. And by clicking on it, they can view their award, and they'll be able to see the evidence that a teacher has attached to that. I'm going to play that one more time because again, a little dopamine hit for our students. Oh, it's not going to do it again. It's only going to do it on first view. I forgot that. Now the dopamine's gone. Yeah, that's right. Little bit at a time. All right, so hopefully you've had some success now as well with awarding that. That brings us towards the end of this session. We probably have maybe 1 minute. Is there a burning question in the room that someone needs answered? We have a question there. Crystal's going to come to you with a mic, and she might answer it, or I might answer it. We'll find out.
Everybody that's using Learning Moments, do you all have one-to-one devices? Because I just can't see how this would work. Particularly, and are they iPads, like taking photos if students are using laptops?
I don't want to speak for everyone, obviously, but Sarah can add some value to that.
We have one-to-one. So Prep to Year 3 have iPads and 4 to 6 have laptops. And I'd say, yeah, they're double-facing cameras, so that, yes. And the one-to-one would be very important, I think.
So I would also just say that you can generate QR codes for student logins. So if you had, say, a teacher device that is an iPad, a QR code enabled device, you might have a class set of QR codes, so you can actually log in as the student and post the learning moment for them, or hand the laptop over the device over to them to create their learning moment, log out and scan the next QR code. That might be a workflow you could follow. Obviously, as a teacher, you can post learning moments too. It's not just students that can submit them. As Sarah was talking about, they've got a sort of a balance within their school of that approach. You might just have to swing a little bit more towards that teacher workflow. I should also mention that there is a setting within Schoolbox to enable parent learning moments so that parents can post their own learning moments. Now, that might be fraught with slight danger for particular schools, but that is...
Safe space on the activity feed, though. Safe space.
Yeah, that's right. So that is a possibility, but obviously student-teacher is the bread and butter of learning moments. If you want to know more about maybe that, we do have the strategy studio available at break times with consultants and with school engagement managers on the desk, and they can maybe talk to you a little bit more about that particular workflow. Any other questions? No? Okay. That brings us to our final slide, the strategy studio. So I might let Crystal take that one.
Thank you very much. As Ant mentioned, outside we have the strategy studio desk where the ECs and the SEMs are here to answer your questions on any of the sessions that you've seen today and how Schoolbox might be able to support you through managing change or introducing new processes within your school. And on behalf of Ant, myself and all of the Schoolbox team, I want to thank you for joining us in our session today. And I believe it's lunchtime.